god, why isn't this working? So I've been working on these fog lights here, and they're not lighting. So there was a couple lights on the Christmas tree that were also broken, and I was like, well, at least maybe I can fix those guys. Maybe I can get one thing done. Russ, you have to check every single bulb. Whoop, got a little nut here. You can work on that. That line pretty much sums up every project I've done on this car. Everything has its own little knot. And in this episode, I'm gonna be working through a lot of them. These are the OG fogs right here. And so there's a couple ways to go about this project. Some people buy like Harley Davidson, like motorcycle lights, and they are about the same size and they just mount them in. I wanted to go the original route because I'm doing the whole like backdate, and I think these would just look so good. And these guys need to be cleaned, duh. So this will be like a pretty fun 50-year restoration little project on these guys because I have the sandblaster. And of course they're gonna be powder coated, you guys know me. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. This will be fun. Spider. Let me just start by taking this whole thing apart. Is that tight? Inner loosen. These parts are concave and they go around this concave part on the fog light. So that should be pretty straightforward, but I'm gonna leave it together just so I don't mess it up. There's also a little like flat washer over here. Okay. Pry off the seal. Okay, great. That guy's out. And this part's riveted on, so I'll probably just tape off the leads. Or I guess sandblasting them would be helpful. Then we have the glass itself. This is definitely in need of some TLC. And we have the ring, which I'm gonna sandblast and powder coat it black. I'm spraying some galvanizing compound on the mounting bracket hardware and the spring clips that hold it in because I'm not going to be powder coating these guys, so still got to protect them. Fresh out of the sandblaster, look at how good these things look. They look amazing. Now they're going to get black powder coated, and just make sure you cover over these terminals here so that way we maintain our good connections. Let's hang them up. All right, black powder coat. very, very important part of this is making sure that these fog lights are completely centered inside these grills. So, while the bumper is still on, I'm gonna attach the mounting bracket and make sure that they are centered so that way I can drill out a hole for our nutsert, which I will talk more about later. Attaching on the mounting brackets. These guys are actually really cool. They have these little concave pieces, or I guess this would be, concave. So that way it allows you to adjust it, just the slightest amount. Okay, so this thing has a lot of movement going on. It can it can rotate this way, forward, backward, and then there's also a little bit of wiggle room for the bolt itself. But right now I'm gonna get it as close as I possibly can so that way I can drill in a hole that will fit in here, and then we'll adjust it to a perfect amount once the bumper's off. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put in, I just have the housing here, I didn't put it all together because it was also kind of big when it's all together, but it's gonna mount somewhere on this little bump here. It's very, very obvious, but there's a lot of space for it to mount on said bump. So I'm gonna slide this in, and then I'm gonna screw on the grill, because this is what it's gonna be centered on. And then you might actually need two people for this. One person who's like adjusting the lamp housing, and then one person who's like straight on with the car and like, okay, go a little bit left, go a little bit right. So I might be employing my dad here, and then I'm just gonna be going like this. Is that right? Is that centered? You'll see it, you'll see it. So I'm adjusting with one hand and I'm marking with the other, but my dad will be telling me when it looks centered. Okay, I'm raising it up. That's about on the hole. Tilt it down a little bit. Look at that.
Is it flat? Let's see.
It's on the flat piece.
It looks, actually, it doesn't look that bad. What if you go lower?
Lower, we're already kind of on the low end of it.
Hold that. That's it.
Can you mark it? Because I'm gonna drop it. Now I'm going to be taking off the bumper so that way I can drill the hole out and use the nutsert tool. The nutsert tool is really helpful because this metal's pretty thin, and then also I wanted to have the little bit of adjustment that I could have rather than just welding on the housing to the metal. And that's where the nutsert comes in, because it's like a threaded rivet. It like rivets into the car, and it's like already threaded. So it's basically like welding on a nut, except no welding necessary. All right, so I got the right size on my step drill bit here, and it's about the 7/16. So I'm gonna be drilling up to that point, and I have an oval here. So I'm gonna be drilling in the middle, so that way I have a little bit of play on the top and on the bottom. All right, let's get started. All right, time to drill in the very center of that oval. I don't have access to what's behind here. It's below the headlight bucket, but not like available to reach. Like I'm hitting metal. So it's like a little secluded box in there. So I can't really get onto the other side if I were to weld a nut on here or whatever. So that's why I'm gonna be using nutsert, because I can do that just by having access to the front. So I could weld this on, but that would not give me the amount of adjustability and like play that just having like a regular bolt would. And having a nutsert will allow me to put a blind, pretty much nut in there without having access to the back. Here is what a nutsert looks like, and here's what it looks like on a piece of metal. So it's really cool because these things get squished down into the back like a rivet. That's basically how it works, with this crazy looking tool here. So this is my secret to how I'm going to be mounting fog lights onto my car. Great, I think that's it. Oh, okay, that was a bit difficult, but it looks really nice. Hey, it fits! That's great. I'm backdating the bumper, so my bumper didn't originally have fog lights as they are now, and so So I'm going to be making a wire that will connect to the harness so that way these fog lights will glow really bright, or as bright as they would glow. So I'm going to make sure I have the right amount of wire and then connect them to the fogs. I'm actually going to start with the ground. So the ground is tricky because it has these little darn right angle connectors. These things are so hard to find. So thank you to both Jack and Ted, two of my superstars over here. Okay, so I'm gonna strip the wire first. Now I'm just gonna crimp on the crimp piece, and then I'm gonna make sure it's extra tight with some soldering. Yeah, I got it. Okay, not my best crimp, but I'm gonna tin it. So these little guys have a little grommet that helps protect it from water. So I hunted around and I found a grommet that fit actually really well. So I'm gonna slide this in and then I'm gonna put on the wires. Can you see that? And now I'm just gonna thread my wires through. The ground gets connected to this little pin right here. All right, so now power to the bulb here. So this is a bayonet bulb, and the power kind of is just crammed in by this tiny little screw here. I'll show you. That one hasn't been loosened in quite a while. Starting from the outside in. So we have the lens here. This is the OG. And then I have 914 rubber seal. So my old seal, very crusty, very crackly. It's like almost like ASMR, and I can feel it breaking in my fingers as I hold it right now. So I'm not going to be reusing that. But I am going to be using this one. And something I found out, actually, I was looking at it and I was like, because at first I didn't know how this went on, so I was like trying a bunch of different ways, but it just goes around the glass. It protects both sides of the glass. However, one side is slightly deeper than the other side. I'll show you here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bigger side on the inside of the glass here. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's what looks right to me because the outside is slightly like less wide than the inside face, but just an interesting observation. So now the actual reflector, we're gonna put the bulb housing in with the wiring. And this just clips in. One, get out the way. Two. And the glass is gonna meet here. So if I scrubbed this glass. It is definitely original. 914 rubber makes some glass as well, so I might be getting those. But I wanted to test out the originals because they're pretty cool. Now I'm gonna feed the wire through the grommet in the back of the housing, and then we'll put them together. So these are tiny little clips that hold together the outer ring and the glass reflector parts together. And these guys will fly off into oblivion if you are not careful. And I was talking to Bruce and he was like, they go at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. So I swear. So what you're gonna wanna do is put the short side in first, and then that way you have the lever on the other side to get that snapped in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And booyah! We have the fog light housing. Check that out. Okay. Time to put it on the car. Okay, now I gotta get the other one put on and then slap on the bumper, line them up, and then we'll light them up. All right, just gotta tighten it up. It looks really good. Yeah. Oh my God, why isn't this working? I'm so glad these fog lights worked. I think they look pretty sick too. Good work.